Well, here we are for the second half of our vid lecture. I realized after I ended that I did not cover our extra resources for this week, and it's really important that you look at these, that you have these at your disposal. Anyways, the first is statistics in ministry. These are some pretty interesting, somewhat scary statistics around ministry. I want you to look at them. There's not a test on it or anything, but might just kind of open your eyes in a few ways. Find it very interesting. So this is updated every year as yeah, and I'm not sure for how long they've been doing this, but I know that it is updated annually. I will, with this, give you the link so you're able to get over there. Kind of interesting too that it is on Pastoral Care Inc. side. So that'll be there for you. The other piece, extra resource, is an introduction to what I call PRCs, PSC, PCs, etc. Pastoral Relation Committees, Pastoral Support Committees, pastoral committees, yeah, back and forth it goes. The irony of all of this is that they contain relations, the words relations and or support. And often there's nothing supportive about them. Now, you may have a pastoral relations committee and you may say, wow, they are so supportive. But in highly conflictual congregations, or even moderately conflictual congregations, dysfunctional congregations, these are not places of support. Caution, caution, caution. Um, Honestly, what they really are codified triangulation. You may remember, I think we've talked about this, or we talked about it early on. Triangulation is when I have a problem with you, but instead of going and talking to you, I go and talk to this person over here, and now a triangle has been created. I don't talk to you, I talk to them, expecting them to talk to you, either directly or indirectly. Triangulation. Well, what happens in pastor congregation committees or teams, you can call them whatever you want. People have a problem with the pastor, and so they go to this committee or team or somebody that's on that committee or team. They triangulate the committee, and then, of course, the committee is going to either try to set things right, get the minister to do what they need to do, massage the situation they take on, or people, right? It's not the team as a whole necessarily, but there are people who take all of this on. Again, it's codified triangulation. These committees generally are problem focused. They are difficult to be solution oriented, particularly because they have no authority. And if you've got problems going on in the congregation, it needs to be owned by the leadership of the congregation. The problem is not with the minister, the problem is with the congregation. In that case, it's about the leader. If you're telling me that the problem is about the pastor, then the pastor probably needs to go, right? If the problem is the pastor, it's not about the problem. If the problem is the pastor is not doing his or her job. The pastor is, I don't know, destroying things. The pastor is not acting pastoral, let alone how about as a Christian or a disciple. And trust me, there are a lot of ministers out there who don't act very Christian-like. Then the pastor, that needs to work with the leadership, not with some committee or team. Actually, it should be handled in something along the lines of a human resources committee. I hate reading things through. But I guess in some ways I need to. Otherwise, what would be best is if you stop the video for a moment, just stop it in a moment and go get this resource. It's in section 9. I'll pause for just a moment so you can go get it. Okay. You'll see, a glossary of these terms, challenges with our current pastoral committee systems, and encouragement then for you to think outside the box when it really comes to supporting the ministry of a minister of your ministry. One, a pastor support committee, a pastor support committee, a pastor team, a support team. Support, key word here. It's a committee that encourages and provides opportunities for the congregation to show love and support to their pastor. These are the groups of prayers. They pray for their pastor. These need to be detail-oriented folks who love to celebrate. The more they like to celebrate, the better. There are people who can inspire others to celebrate. They know the minister and their family's birthdays. They know anniversaries, sad and happy anniversaries. They make sure that the minister every month in some way gets some kind of encouragement. They know the pastor's ordination date. They know the day that the pastor arrived. They help the congregation to celebrate. They're not the only ones. It's about celebrating. They make sure that Pastor Appreciation Month is in some way observed. At the very minimum, Pastor Appreciation Day. They make sure that the pastor is, and the staff, quite honestly, are taken care of, are recognized, and receive some kind of a gift for Christmas, for the holidays. Pastor Support Committee. Then there's the Pastor Personnel Committee. Personnel Committee deals with personnel issues, not just for the minister, but for anybody else who is paid staff. And quite honestly, I look forward to the day when the Personnel Committee is responsible for also assessing the ministry of the entirety of the church, and particularly for the leadership. Right people in the right seats, not just the minister or the secretary or custodian, but everybody who's serving in a leadership position. That's your personnel committee. Your pastor's prayer team. These are the people that get with the minister, that pray, get together and pray every single week for the minister. I love the churches where they have 7 people or 6 people, one who prays on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Wednesday. Every day there's somebody praying specifically for pastor and his or her family. They are they come to meetings and they pray for the minister for the meeting while the minister is there. That's your pastor prayer committee. Again, this says much more about that. And then there's the pastor support system. These are your resources beyond the congregation. We talked about this past week. These are your confidants, right? Your people that walk alongside you. They're elders. If you have regional or area or conference elders, these are the people that are praying for you, that are there for you to read. We talked about who these confidants, confessors can be and should be for us. We also talked about them not being your area minister, your regional minister, your conference minister, your bishop. Anybody who has any sway over your employment, you always need to keep them in the loop, but they are not your friend. They are not there. They say they are, and they are, but it can bite you in the tail. When I was in seminary, I said this in the end of week session, week 6. When we were in seminary, it was no secret that you should never, you needed to watch what you say in your classes, because you never know which one of those classmates might be your district superintendent or bishop one day. So it's not the place to go and pour out your heart or talk about how bad your congregation is. They need to have that kind of information, and give them that information, but don't make it about poor, pitiful you. Make sure that you can be objective about that. And if they ask you, so how are you doing in all of this, then tell them how you're doing. But again, don't use it as your cry fest. They're not your counselor or therapist. Pastor support, they're great. They'll help you work through pieces. If you have Celebrate Recovery in your church, do not go. Go to a Celebrate Recovery in a different church. Again, it's not the place for you to be out there and open. Be careful about, if you're in 12-step, about being in 12-step rooms with people in your church. You can go, you can listen, but it's not the place where you can be open and open. You've got to be in places where there are people who can love you, and it won't turn on you. What you share doesn't turn back on you. Okay. How to phase out redirect. Pastoral relation committees, there's a whole section on that, and I'll just leave that there for you. But I can't recommend enough phasing out or redirecting the pastoral relation committees into this, into a system of a pastor support committee, a personnel committee, and a pastor's prayer team. I know you've stuck with me on this because I want to make sure that I phrased week one's question in a way that's understandable. Question your discussion forum 2 question is this: what are you going to do to care for yourself? What is your self-care plan 2021? Again, get your vacations on the calendar. Don't want to hear excuses. Get them on the calendar. You can change them, but at least I want you to be thinking into it. I want you to be intentional. I want you to, again, have them on that calendar. If you need to move them, when you see them, please think or train yourself. Figure out how you're going to think. Oh, you can make a little note on there that says, okay, I'm moving this because I have to do this. Where am I moving it to? Ask yourself the question, where are you moving it to? All right, the other part of this question, it's a 2-part question, is what's your self-care plan for the next, this next week and a half through week 8? How are you going to take some time for you and for God? Plan can't be proactive if you don't have a calendar. All right, there's your question. PRCs, staff, information, ministry information. Thank you for sticking with me. Enjoy your week and see you on the boards. Bye-bye.